ask Mark Meter about a DOJ case, and you're asking me about an FTC case. But the answer to your question is yes. Right to repair is a critical argument that is important in antitrust enforcement. That is currently being litigated in the John Deere case at the FTC. There's significant case law on the right to repair as a legitimate antitrust argument. And so I think, yeah, that's definitely viable, and we're seeing more and more of that. As you say, there's sort of like these hermetically sealed boxes of hardware that it's incredibly difficult to open, and if you open them, you lose your warranty, and if you don't go to the official service and things like that. So there's lots of problems related to that.
The fight over who controls the tools that keep America's farms, cars, and small businesses running is heating up in Washington. In a recent Senate hearing, lawmakers and witnesses tackled the right to repair movement, a battle between powerful manufacturers like John Deere and everyday farmers, mechanics, and consumers. At the heart of the debate is a simple but urgent question. If you buy it, shouldn't you be able to fix it?
You know, one of the issues that keeps coming up in Vermont, I talk to farmers, and they want to repair their equipment, and they can't. And if there's anything a farmer can do, it's fix things. And it's a way they save money and keep things going, and they can't take the time it takes to have somebody else come in and fix it. And they're not being allowed to do it. So a number of us think that there should be a right to repair. You buy the tractor, you should be able to repair it. And to some extent, technology is becoming a device by which the manufacturers control the market and control prices, but claiming it's intellectual property. But in fact, you bought the tractor, and if something goes wrong, why can't you, when you're somebody like a farmer and knows how to do things, fix it? So, Mr. Alford, I just want to ask you your view on, or pardon me, Mr. Meader, your view on right to repair.
Yes, I think it's incredibly important. And as you alluded to, the FTC has enforcement efforts in this exact area. I think it's critical that when a consumer buys a product, they can use their own labor or that of anyone capable to repair and maintain that product. I actually have a John Deere tractor myself, not the same one the farmers use, but I know how expensive it is to have that just maintained.
Well, yeah, another, I'll ask you, Mr. Alford. I brought, this is a car, but not a tractor, but I bring my car in to this place that is a mom and pop type of shop, and there's a lot of those in all of our communities, and they're telling me that it really costs them a lot to get the latest software to be able to fix whatever's wrong with my car, and it's leading folks to have to go to the dealership, which charges more. So it's bad for consumers, and it's bad for these mom and pop shops. Tell me your thoughts on this right to repair. Yeah,
Senator Hawley asked Mark Meter about a DOJ case, and you're asking me about an FTC case. But the answer to your question is yes. Right to repair is a critical argument that is important in antitrust enforcement. That is currently being litigated in the John Deere case at the FTC. There's significant case law on the right to repair as a legitimate antitrust argument. And so I think, yeah, that's definitely viable, and we're seeing more and more of that. As you say, there's sort of like these hermetically sealed boxes of hardware that it's incredibly difficult to open, and if you open them, you lose your warranty, and if you don't go to the official service and things like that. So there's lots of problems related to that. If I can respond briefly to Senator Hawley's question on agriculture, we absolutely agree that agriculture and antitrust are fundamentally important. The DOJ currently is pursuing a major agricultural case in agri-stats, but some of the other issues that were mentioned by my fellow panelists with respect to buyer power and the consolidation of all of the sort of upstream farmers being forced to sell to a very, very fewer and fewer numbers of buyers at the end is a huge antitrust issue, and so we're definitely focused on that as well.
And let me go back to Professor Miki. Is it Professor? You're at Berkeley?
I am at Berkeley, but I'm a senior fellow. But I'm honored for the recognition. Well, even if it's not deserved.
I went to Berkeley, so it's good to have you.
Thank you.
Hawley, get back here. We gotta defend Stanford, man.
No. Can you just describe how a federal right to repair would promote a more sustainable and competitive agricultural economy?
Absolutely. When I was the principal deputy and then acting assistant attorney general in the Antitrust division, it was our mantra in the front office, don't mess with the farmers. And we took the view that when big, rapacious companies abused farmers, that they needed to be prepared to meet the Justice Department on the other side. And I think we saw that very clearly in the John Deere case, which is why in 2023, we filed in the name of the United States on behalf of farmers suing John Deere in the class action case. And so I think that a federal right to repair law would avoid the need for protracted, expensive litigation where experts come in and try to model harm to the fourth decimal point. There are just some things that come down to right and wrong. And I think that whether you're talking about the ability to repair your tractor or the expensive ecosystem of aftermarket parts and services, or really the I think most pernicious but least talked about issue in all of this is the sheer volume of data, farmers' data that is being fed back to John Deere and sort of used in the ways that big tech monopolies use user data is really quite concerning. And so I think this is a wonderful idea because we know what happens when companies pivot from being sort of an industrial monopolist to a sort of big data monopolist, and then are charging expensive subscriptions and service fees in order for you to just interact with the product that you thought you bought.
Thank you. That's very helpful, and I like your advice. Don't mess with the farmers.
Mess with the farmers.
Thank you.
The issue of repair rights has been simmering for years, but recent testimony revealed just how much frustration has boiled over, especially in rural America. Farmers in Vermont, like in many other states, have expressed to their senators that they feel increasingly boxed in by manufacturers' restrictions. Traditionally, farming culture is rooted in self-reliance. When a tractor breaks down, the farmer gets under the hood and fixes it. That self-sufficiency has always been part of how farmers save money, reduce downtime, and keep operations going during critical seasons. But as agricultural machinery has become more technologically advanced, so have the barriers to fixing it. Tractors today are less mechanical and more digital, loaded with proprietary software, diagnostic locks, and warranty traps that make independent repair nearly impossible. Farmers are told they must rely on authorized dealers or company technicians, who often charge steep fees and can't always respond quickly enough when time-sensitive planting or harvesting is on the line. One senator put it bluntly, "You buy the tractor, you should be able to repair it." Yet instead, technology has become a lever of control. Manufacturers claim these restrictions are about protecting intellectual property, but critics argue it is really about market power, controlling not just who can fix the equipment, but also how much consumers must pay for that service. FTC officials at the hearing confirmed the issue is not just about inconvenience, it's an antitrust concern. They pointed to the ongoing John Deere case, where the FTC has joined farmers in challenging practices that lock owners out of repairing their own machines. One witness, who happens to own a John Deere tractor himself, noted just how expensive even routine maintenance has become, costs that hit farmers' margins hard. The debate doesn't stop at agriculture. Car owners and small-town repair shops face similar hurdles. Local mom-and-pop mechanics testified that it costs them thousands to acquire the latest diagnostic software needed to service modern cars. Without access, they lose customers to dealerships that charge higher rates. The ripple effect harms not just consumers, but also small businesses that form the backbone of local economies. Witnesses tied this growing frustration directly to broader antitrust principles. If a company sells you a product, but then locks you into its repair ecosystem, is that not a form of monopoly control? The hearing explored the idea that right to repair is not just about fairness, but also about restoring competition in markets where manufacturers dominate both the primary sale and the aftermarket service. One professor, a former Justice Department antitrust official, explained the stakes clearly. Without a federal right to repair law, consumers are left with expensive, drawn-out litigation. That drains resources from farmers and small businesses who simply want the freedom to maintain the tools they own. A straightforward law would short-circuit these battles and give power back to consumers. Even more concerning, the professor warned, is the new frontier of data. Modern tractors, cars, and devices don't just perform physical tasks. They also collect and transmit vast amounts of user data back to manufacturers. For farmers, that means detailed information about planting patterns, soil conditions, and yields being siphoned off to corporate servers. Companies then use this data much like big tech platforms do, building profit models, setting subscription fees, and reinforcing their dominance. What began as an industrial monopoly is transforming into a data monopoly, with farmers paying subscriptions just to access functions of equipment they already purchased. The message from experts was clear. When corporations can lock up repairs, collect data, and monetize access, the harm is not just economic, but structural. It erodes competition, weakens small businesses, and undermines the independence of American farmers. A federal right to repair would not only save farmers money, but also promote sustainability, innovation, and a more competitive economy. One witness summed it up with a mantra he said guided the Justice Department's antitrust team: "Don't mess with the farmers." That sentiment captured the bipartisan energy in the hearing. Senators across the aisle recognize that if Americans cannot fix what they own, they are at the mercy of corporations that set the terms of ownership long after the purchase is made. The hearing reflected growing momentum for change. Consumers, farmers, and small businesses are uniting around the idea that ownership should mean control. As the fight against monopolistic practices continues, right to repair is emerging as one of the most practical and widely supported reforms in the modern economy. The right to repair debate is no longer just a niche issue for tech hobbyists. It is now a national battle over fairness, competition, and the survival of small businesses. Farmers, mechanics, and consumers are demanding what feels like common sense. If you buy it, you own it, and you should be able to fix it. With the FTC and DOJ taking on giants like John Deere and senators pushing for a federal law, the momentum is building. Whether it's tractors in the field, cars in the garage, or devices in our homes, the outcome of this fight will shape who really controls the tools of everyday life.